Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're going to be going through my top 10 most fun precons. So these are talking about the precons out of the box primarily. Obviously, the way I talk about them being fun is the way that I would suggest upgrading them if you want them to continue being fun and to continue being like a very, enjoyable experience. Now, this is not just an enjoyable experience for you, but enjoyable experience hopefully for the whole table because, they can have some really fun and interesting moments where it's like, okay, let's do this and boom. Oh no, I've completely screwed myself, but not like, screwed yourself completely. It's more like, let's go gambling. It's just to me, 10 of the most fun precons you guys can get. I tried to get ones that were still available mostly at the moment. Some of them are going to be a little bit harder to find, but just kind of focusing on the ones that I think are going to be enjoyable. Now, obviously, fun is subjective and not everyone's going to be able to enjoy them the same or have kind of the same experience from them or anything. But these are the ones that I think are fun and enjoyable. There's very different reasons like why each of them are. So make sure you stick around and listen and kind of hear out my reasoning for each of them. So we're going to start out with the peace offering one. So this is a group hug deck that's going to handing out cards and gifts to everyone at the table. This to me is just a very enjoyable kind of experience. I played this one at my LGS recently, and I was this close to winning because I've kind of changed it so it's got more alternate win cons. But even in the pre-con, it had a lot of alternate win cons in it, which was really cool. It allows you to kind of politic with other people at the table. It's a great kind of interactive deck where, it gets to involve everyone at the table and everything. Everyone's like, invested in what you're doing and kind of enjoys to see how you're going to win because it's going to be a very kind of, interesting way that you're trying to win the game as opposed to everyone else who, they're trying to win through poison or just combat damage and stuff. Meanwhile, the peace offering one, you're like, let me just play my friends. It's very fun. So a couple of the different cards from here is Bumbleflower as the face commander and the one that I would suggest playing for the most enjoyable experience in this way. She has vigilance, and then whenever you cast a spell, you get to gift an opponent a card, and you get to buff up one of your creatures and give them flying. And then also, if it's the second time you've done it, you get to draw cards as well. And then 20 Toad is one of the alternate win cons in there. You can win the game if you have 20 cards or more, or if it has 20 counters on it. The Miracle Worker one, this is another one that I actually played at the LGS. And it's a very fun kind of heart of the cards vibe to it. When you're playing a game and you get down to the end of it and you're like, if I draw this card, I'm going to be able to stop them. Or, someone's taken away with the game and you want a board wipe or something. This recreates that on not just your turn either, because you can miracle out on other people's turns too. So it's a very interesting way to kind of play where, you're drawing the top card of your hand and you're like, yes, I get to miracle this out. And it just creates, to me, a very fun environment. There's a lot of fun synergies throughout the deck and stuff where, you're casting things for cheaper or helping you get good things onto the top of your deck. So rearranging it to kind of manipulate the heart of the cards, which I guess is kind of, I don't know, maybe see a psychologist about manipulating hearts, but either way, there's some really cool stuff you can do with it. A couple of the different cards, Aminage is the face commander here, who's the one that gives them all miracle and kind of recreates that heart of the cards vibe, in my opinion. And then you got one with the multiverse and a whole bunch of enchantments similar to this where they're very expensive enchantments, but when they've got that reduction of 4 mana to them, they're not that bad. And it's you get to bring them out and be like, wham, now I can finally be able to do a whole bunch of stuff. It's just a very fun experience, in my opinion. The next we got is Blame Game. So this one here, you're goading your opponents to force them to attack each other or just heavily encourage them to attack each other with rewards. So if they go and attack someone else here, if you attack that person, you're going to get a card. It's just a very chaotic deck because, chaotic vibe because you're going to make everyone need to attack, whether they're forced to because of goad or whether they feel like they have to get more card draw. It just makes it a very chaotic game, which to me is very enjoyable. So a couple of different things in here are Nellie Borka, the face commander. She suspects a creature and then she goads all of those suspected creatures. So, and then the second part here is the part where, she's going to make it so that if someone deals combat damage to one of your opponents, then you and that person get to draw a card. Really cool, Really fun. Hot Pursuit is in this deck as well, which is like an actual win con for goaded goaded teams, goaded decks, because goaded decks didn't really have a win con previously because of the fact that it once it gets down to a 1v1, goad doesn't work anymore because they just attack you then. They have no other options. So this actually creates like a win con for a goad deck, which is really cool. We got the Mind Flayers. So this is horror tribal. So you got a whole lot of horrors and like, you know, nightmarish creatures, not actual nightmares, nightmarish horrors. But it's kind of built around a dealing combat damage. And then from there, you get to mill your opponents and boom, now you get to steal stuff with a captain. You never know what you're going to get. And, you know, you get to create this kind of vibe of people starting to mill stuff and then they mill something and then it's like, oh no, now you've just milled like a really great thing. Do I want to exile my own graveyard or something with a Bojika Bog, or, you know, some really interesting ways that can play out. Well, not with a Bojika Bog because you have to flash that out somehow, but, you know, other ways to be able to exile their own graveyards. So some of the things in there, like, you know, you got Cap'n, he's the commander here, makes it so all your horrors have menace, and then whenever they deal combat damage to a player, they're going to mill that many cards, and then at the beginning of your end step, choose a target artifact or creature in an opponent's graveyard that was put there from their library this turn. You get to put it onto the battlefield under your control. So you don't even need to cast it. You just straight up steal it and chuck it on the battlefield. And, you know, Nilith is a really interesting horror from this deck. So a whole bunch of them have like ways to be able to avoid getting blocked. So like Nilith has fear here. Nilith? Yeah, I think it's Nilith. But this creates a ticking time bomb sitting on the battlefield as people, you know, like the time is like counting down as it gets onto the battlefield. It's, if you like suspend it, it's really cool. Next, we've got the Velociraptor one. Now, this one is going to be harder to find. It is quite expensive because of the fact that everyone wants it because it's just a great deck overall, as well as, you know, everyone loves dinosaurs. So this is just big dinosaur stompy, but the commander is the part that makes it really fun because when you have Pantalaza out, you play a dinosaur and then that dinosaur you get to discover. So you get to look through the top cards of your library until you find one that has lesser mana value, and then you get to either play that or put it into your hand. Really cool. You know, what's more fun than putting one dinosaur out? That dinosaur brings along a friend. The secondary mechanic is also Enrage, which is very interesting because you can create this like engine if you want to run the secondary commander, or even just you bring the secondary commander in the game. You can create this engine of like training your dinosaurs against each other, because she makes it so that you get to pay green and then make a target creature you control, target creature you also control, and then they fight and then they activate both their enrages, and then she doubles those enrages. And then Pantalaza is the one that I said before about discovering, which is really cool. Oh, it's not mana value, sorry, it's a creature's toughness. Jump scare. Make sure you subscribe. You know, this could be the last video you see from me because if the YouTube algorithm might chuck me away if you aren't subscribed. So make sure you subscribe so that way you see all our awesome content. Make sure that you like the video and share it around and everything. And also, if you are like, you know, picking up one of these decks and you want to upgrade it or something like that, you can go sign up to our Patreon. I can chuck you, you know, what you want to do, what I think the upgrades are for your deck and everything. If you get a monthly deck review, or, you know, you could see this video early if you were signed up there. Now, at the moment, I don't have any Patreon signed up. So like, you know, no one's getting to see this video early. Do you want to be the first to see videos like this? Make sure you get over to the Patreon. All right, next up, we have the Elven Council one. Now, I am very, very critical of this deck. I think that overall, the deck is a bit all over the place because of the voting mechanic, but the voting mechanic is very interesting and a very interactive mechanic. And I think that it can work if you look at upgrading it or just change the face commander over. People get to choose what reward or punishment you get, or what punishment they get, what reward you get. You know, you play a card and then it's like, hey, when this comes out, everyone gets to vote for A and B, and then people get to vote for what they are. It's really cool. I like that idea, but I just think the deck didn't pull it off incredibly well. But honestly, I'm considering picking up this deck just because I love the idea of like that voting mechanic. Elves are cool too, I guess. This is like partial elf tribal. So you've got a lot of Simic elves in here, but there's not a lot of Simic elves overall. So you just kind of keep that in mind. So I think that you should change it over to Arrester of the Council. I think that she's just a better face commander for it, because of the fact that she enables everything else and makes it so that people are heavily encouraged to vote for what you vote for, because if they vote for what you vote for, they get to create a treasure. If they don't, then you get to scry. Fine, but the voting for the treasure and getting a treasure for voting for what you want is really good. And then Galadriel's the secondary commander, which is the one that, like, one of the ones that has a vote, so she gets to make it so people vote for either the ring tempting you, or putting a +1 and putting a +1/+1 on your ring bearer, or drawing a card. All right, next we've got the Masters of Evil. Now, this is similar to the voting mechanic, right? So while the voting mechanic is everyone at the table gets to vote, the villainous choice mechanic from this is essentially you get to give an opponent a choice, right? If, say, for example, Davros, we'll talk about him in a second, but like, you know, you get to give them, do you want to draw a card? Sorry, do you want me to draw a card, or do you want to discard a card? It's just like, you know, there's a lot of cards out there that are kind of like each opponent sacrifices, or each opponent may sacrifice a creature. If they don't, then you get to draw a card. It's kind of like that, but like an actual, like, built around a little bit of the deck around it, and then stuff along those lines. It's also got a side theme of like artifacts and artifact tokens too. But the villainous choice thing is the thing that I really like, because it's like, you know, giving people a choice. Would you like to draw a card, or would you like me to draw a card, or would you like to discard a card? Then, you know, just being able to build a big team of robots is really fun and interesting, in my opinion. All right, next we've got Jump Scare Boo. So I love this Jump Scare deck. This is honestly up there as one of my favorite precons. Face down creatures is just a very interesting mechanic. And I'm saying interesting so much in this video, but that's because, you know, to me, they're interesting and fun. So face down mechanic, that you're going to create these face down cards, right, that are 2/2 creatures, but when you flip them, they could be anything. That could be a huge monster, or it could be, you know, an enchantment that's going to help you take away with the game, or it could just be a land, or it could be nothing because it's an instant or sorcery and you can't flip it. You know, there's just a lot of interesting things there. You've also got landfall in there, because then you get to be like, okay, I'm playing a land. Boom, 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 boom. I get a whole bunch of things that trigger off, which is going to be fun for you, not necessarily fun for other people, but it is pretty cool. So you've got like Zamone here, who's the face commander who triggers off a landfall and then does place the face down cards. And then Hydra Omnivore is one of those examples of the face down, one of the creatures that you could have face down that you then flip up, and then look, you've cheated out this huge 8/8 combat damage that's going to kill everyone. We've got Riveteer's Rampage. So have you ever wanted to throw everything at an opponent, even the kitchen sink? This deck lets you do that. You can blitz out cards for a cost and then hit people in the face with them, and then you sacrifice them at the end of your at the beginning of your next end step. So you're going to be playing as a mobster with this, with Henzi and stuff. You get to have so many different tools up your sleeve in this deck, whether it's, you know, some removal stuff from blitzing out, or some just big, huge creatures that you get to blitz out for cheaper and stuff. And you send your guys in to die, and then you get value from the die. Realistically, like, you know, there should be some kind of body, a union or something preventing you from doing this, given the fact that, you know, yeah, but apparently not. So you've got Henzi here, who is very much like Lord Farquaad. Some of you may die. So he's going to allow you to be able to cheat things out and throw them at everyone. And then you've got stuff in here like Wave of Rats, which kind of takes advantage of the fact that they are going to die, and Wave of Rats comes back if it's dealt combat damage. It's really interesting. We got the Ruinous Powers one here. Do you want to go gambling? Cascade is added to each card in your hand. So you cast a card from your hand, boom, now you're going to reveal cards off the top of your library until you reveal one that is mana value equal or less than life lost by enemies. Sorry, I've explained that poorly. So you get to be able to just essentially look through the top of your deck, reveal until you find something, and then boom, now you're getting a second card that is completely random. I love Cascade decks. I think that they're so chaotic and so fun to play against because, you know, someone could get a really awesome card or they could just accidentally pull a counter spell that they can't use and stuff. It's just a very kind of chaotic thing to play against and really fun to watch. And there's some cool spell slinger stuff in here as well. So you've got stuff like Abaddon the Despoiler here, who is your face commander. So during your turn, spells you cast from your hand with mana value X or less have Cascade, where X is the total amount of life your opponents have lost. So basically, you know, if you cast something that's 7 and opponents have lost 7 life, boom, now it has Cascade. So you reveal something from the top until you find something that is 6 or less. And then you've got Keeper of Secrets here, who makes it so that you kind of take advantage of that casting and deal damage to people based off of that, which is cool. So what are your thoughts? What is the most fun precon you've had to play with? And then how have you upgraded and stuff? Let me know. I hope you guys had a wonderful day and goodbye.